Welcome to the Wrong Words podcast, where we challenge conventional thinkers and explore the depths of language. Hosted by Oliver and Luvon, this podcast is more than a conversation. It's a community, a space for like-minded, contemporary, and unconventional thinkers to gather, question, and grow together. We believe words are powerful. They shape our emotions, define our thoughts, and convey our deepest love. But here's the question. Are we using them correctly? Or have words become a mask, concealing unresolved trauma and filling voids that they were never meant to satisfy? What if we've been misusing them all along? On this journey, we'll dig deeper into the meaning of the words we speak, asking if we even need them at all to express our truths. If you're ready to explore language like never before and to uncover how the wrong words can impact everything from relationships to self-perception, then you've come to the right place. Let's redefine the way we communicate together. You're listening to the Wrong Words podcast.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, what's happening?
We're back again, man. Another episode of the Wrong Words podcast. If this is your first time with us, welcome. Also, if it's your first time, make sure you go back and catch the other episodes before this one. Really great conversations that we hope and pray will spark conversation with you as well and get you to think. Because, man, I can't. I'm gonna speak for myself, and then you tell me what you have to say. Man, these previous conversations we've had, I've walked away from each one of them reevaluating how I use that word.
Yeah. I think I walk away reevaluating how I use a lot of words.
Yeah.
What's interesting is even people in my circle are now saying, "Is that the right word?"
Wow. That's awesome too. That's awesome because that's exactly what we want.
Yes.
That's exactly what we want. We want people to start thinking. And we're not here. We say this all the time. We're not here to tell you what to think.
Right.
We want you to think.
That's it.
We want you to think. And I have to admit, there are some instances where there was no thought before I used some of those words we've talked about already.
Yeah. And the drill down on it is, my thought about the word was filled with a lot of opinion.
Okay.
It really didn't describe the right word. The right word was never used in context.
Yeah.
All of that stuff was from memory.
Listen, the friendship one.
Oof. Whew. No, the love one, Doc.
That was one too. So.
Well, wait. But the family. The definition of family just really messed me up.
It did. And for those of you who are listening, you'll hear that episode soon. We started recording family and we didn't finish it. So we'll make sure you'll get that soon. But yeah, that's one of the words that we talked about as well. Man, listen, here's the bottom line. If you haven't listened to the episodes, you got to go back.
And you have to share.
Yeah, you got to share. So for those of you who are listening right now, you need to listen to all the episodes. You need to share those with your friends and family and have a conversation. Have a conversation about how these words are being used. Have a conversation about whether you are using them correctly and how you maybe need to make some adjustments.
But here's another part, Doc.
Mm-hmm.
How does the wrong usage of the words affect you? Because the wrong usage have you create a story. No, let me talk about me. The wrong usage of a word had me create stories. Mm-hmm. The wrong usage of the words had me have a feeling.
That's right. And a reaction.
Yes. And a lot of my reactions were, again, based in memory, based in past situations. Yep. Oh, I heard that before. So that has to mean that. Mm-hmm. When the other person, and I know I'm responsible for this, I didn't mean it like that.
Right. Man, think about how many times we've said that.
You taking my words out of context. Or the simple one, why are you all in your feelings?
Right. Like I shouldn't be.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like what you said evokes feeling, right?
Yes.
So, man, listen, great conversations, and today is no different. The word we have today is an interesting word, man, because I know for a fact that this word is used incorrectly.
Oh yeah.
This word is used incorrectly. I have probably used this word incorrectly. This word causes people to be held to a standard that is not even in alignment with who they are sometimes.
Correct. This word leads to expectations.
Yeah.
This word has started wars. This word has started fights.
Mm. Yeah.
This word can break a home.
Yeah.
I mean, even the front of the word, the first part of the word.
Right. Because yeah, man.
Because if you don't have that, we broke.
And it's interesting how many words in the English language point to things that are outside of the definition of the actual word.
Yeah.
Which that's a whole nother conversation in itself, man. I was watching this video where this guy was just kind of poking fun at English words and how he's saying that it's so hard to learn English because one word could mean one thing in one context and mean something completely different in another context.
Yeah. Red and red.
Right. Yeah. So the word, for those of you who didn't already look at the title, the word for today is accountability.
Good God.
Accountability. Man, if I had $1 for every time I've heard that word, you need to be accountable. You need to have accountability. Accountability partner. If I would be rich.
You ain't a good leader. You ain't accountable. You ain't a great friend. You're not accountable. You're not a good husband. You ain't accountable. So why should I follow? I mean, oh my God.
Yeah. So as we do with all of these words, we're going to look at the definitions and we're going to look at the origin of the word. We got a scriptural reference around the word. Today, we also have even some there's some archetypes as it relates to accountability, something that I was not really aware of until I actually started digging into the word.
Okay.
That there are actually archetypes and accountability ideologies. So we picked out 4 accountability archetypes that we'll talk about as well. But man, let's dig in. Let's get it, Doc. Dig in with the definition. So first definition is from dictionary.com, and it is the fact or condition of being accountable. And then it has the word responsibility, right? Which is interesting because responsibility is a whole nother vein. We might even do that word down the road.
Okay.
We might even do, because if we're talking about wrong words and how we use words incorrectly and how we can change that, there's an argument that could put accountability and responsibility in 2 different ballparks.
Well, you know how my brain works.
Let us know.
I mean, accountability is acceptance. Responsibility is the action of the acceptance.
There you go. And that's why they could be put in 2 different categories.
Yeah.
Because you can be accountable but not responsible.
Correct. Right.
Yeah, let's not go there.
Yeah, please. Because that's a whole nother thing.
That's a whole. When we get to, I think we need to do responsibility, and when we do responsibility, we'll get into that. So that's the dictionary.com one. Merriam-Webster defines accountability as the quality or state of being accountable. Okay, especially an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility or to account for one's actions.
And that's a whole lot right there, though.
That is a whole lot. We might have to come back to that.
Oh, yeah.
That's interesting. Oxford English definition is the fact of being responsible for your decisions or actions and expected to explain them. So that's very different than the others. One talked about a condition of being responsible or being accountable. One talked about a state of being responsible and a willingness to accept responsibility. The other talks about
the verb tense, the action of
being able to explain it.
Yeah, I think that's where the hiccup comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, you own it or be accountable. Let me use the word.
Mm-hmm.
But 9 times out of 10, accountability is followed by, I'm sorry.
Whoa. So, okay.
So that's the blanket on the action.
And that's interesting that you would say that, because my next question to you was going to be, how have you often seen the word used? And from what you just said, it sounds like typically we only talk about accountability when something has not taken place.
Correct. Now, the not taking place is not that I didn't hear you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I didn't perform. It's I didn't perform in the expected time. So I did what you asked,
Mm-hmm.
just didn't do it when you asked me. Or I didn't do it when I said. So why are you upset? I still did it.
Wow.
So I'm saying, see how we cover accountability always with the hard stop?
Yeah.
Or with the deflection, for lack of better words? Because we never talk about the thing that we're asking you to be accountable for. We always talk about why. No, better word. We justify
Mm-hmm.
what accountability should be.
Yeah. Yeah. And man, what a fitting word for the Wrong Words podcast. We use that word, and I won't say so much that we use it wrong as much as it's very one-dimensional how it's used.
Yes, that's a better way.
So if you think about accountability partner, right? Immediately in my mind, when I hear I need an accountability partner, I'm thinking I need someone who's going to steer me in the right direction when I want to go wrong.
Or I want somebody to hold me to their standard, not mine.
Whew.
That's the premise emotionally of an accountability partner.
Okay.
It's, I'm not inspired. I need your inspiration. I can't follow directness. I need to follow you.
Yeah.
I can't save money. I need you to show me how.
I'm undisciplined. I need.
Correct.
Jeez.
So when you hold someone to the standard of being accountable of their lack, they get angry. But they cover it with, I'm trying.
Wow. So there's a whole other dimension of this word that we don't even touch.
No, Doc. Accountability at its root. Look at the front of the word. ACCOUNT.
Right.
If you don't make a deposit into an account, you will always remain broke. That's just what it is.
And then if, again, English is interesting, right? So that's one definition of account. The other definition of account is record.
Correct. Record keeping.
Right.
So now let's look at the suffix of the word, the ending part. ABILITY.
Ability.
Huh.
That's a whole nother show.
So again, if we were to use the Merriam-Webster, being accountable, accepting responsibilities, the word accountability already says store something and then have the ability to use what you stored. Account and ability.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. And that's a good segue into the etymology, right? So the old French origin of this word is account. ACONT. Account, I guess is how you say that. But it means a count or a reckoning.
Reconciling.
Right. Latin comes up with the same thing, computare, to calculate or reckon.
Yeah, make it make sense.
Right. Again, speaking to how one-dimensional we are when we use this.
Right.
Because we're looking at a very reactionary usage of this word.
Correct.
As opposed to what might really be more a proactive stance.
Yes.
Than anything else.
So wait a minute, before you go any further, let me expound on proactive.
Mm-hmm.
What proactive has or given me an opportunity to do, it helps me not to stay stuck in the minutia.
Mm-hmm.
It has me to right, wrong, or indifferent to deal with the me that's in that present moment.
Right.
Not the me that I was, not the me that I want to be, the me that I am. But inside of me being accountable, I'm learning how to evolve because I don't know the me that I want to be. I have all these grand thoughts. But if I can't get them right now right, I could never be my future.
Right.
So let me hold myself to a standard. Here is where I falter, though.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm accountable, I expect everybody else to be.
Mm. Well, is that wrong?
It depends on who you talk to, because what does the old English says?
So,
expecting to explain them what.
Oxford English, yep.
And if you have an expectation that somebody should explain their inability to be accountable, that's when the fight breaks out.
Right.
Because I don't have to tell you nothing.
Right. And I might not even know.
Yep. Because I guess I don't want to hold anybody accountable to a standard that I don't want to hold myself to.
Mm-hmm.
But I also want to be able to talk through the pain points of what it means.
Right.
Yeah, because if this conversation is painful, there is an origin to that pain. Let's deal with that, because if we can't, you'll never understand what accountability means in a friendship, partnership, marriage, work relationship, leadership. You'll never understand it.
Yeah. That's good. Man. Okay. All right. Let's go to Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic. So Hebrew, the Hebrew word is din, D-I-N. I think that's how you pronounce it. And for those of you who do this, like, please forgive me if I'm not pronouncing it correctly. But it's the Hebrew word for judgment and legal responsibility.
I like that.
That kind of takes us down a different avenue.
It does.
The Greek word logos is an account, a reason, a reckoning. And the Aramaic, kashban, Khashban, is accounting or responsibility. So we're looking at judgment. We're looking at legal stuff. We're looking at reasoning, and we're looking at what could essentially be financial.
Yes.
As it relates to the Aramaic piece.
Yes.
Again, it super highlights the fact that how we use accountability is extremely one-dimensional.
Oh, that's low-hanging fruit. Yeah, according to this,
I need you to show up at 8 o'clock and you showed up at 8:15. You need to be more accountable.
Right. So when you say that to people, you need to be more accountable. The response generally is, traffic was slow, had to take the kids up, had to do this, forgot about that. Man, I should have set my alarm. We still ain't dealt with the word accountable. So that means that you will destined to show up 15 minutes late again.
Or we have dealt with it, but again, this is wrong words, right? Mm-hmm. So we've taken an account, but that account has a list of what we may think is reasons that probably come across as excuses.
Correct.
That actually show our inability to do something and not our ability to do it.
Hey.
That's crazy.
That's clean what you just said, Doc. I mean, the words say it. I mean, Greek says the last word it says is reckoning.
Right.
If I hire an accountant and he get my numbers messed up, there is a reckoning or a reconciliation that has to happen.
Exactly.
Why can't it be the same way, Doc? I mean, why? I mean, this ain't again, I'm not that guy that thinks that he knows a lot about a lot. I'm only talking about me.
Right.
Inside of these conversations, accountability is just kind of sort of what it is.
It is right. It is what it is. You're right.
And it ain't you're not accountable or I'm not accountable. Maybe the situation that we said we should do ain't the right situation.
It's not right. Yeah.
Or you didn't really agree to everything that I thought, not what I said.
Which I love that, because now there's a level of maturity that you're speaking about where we can look at the account.
Correct.
And we can make a judgment call around whether there is enough ability.
Correct.
To
fulfill
the account.
That's it.
And then if the answer is no, we can keep
Don't open the account.
Right. And that's not often what happens.
It's not.
We dive in before we even know what we diving into.
Yeah, and we talk kind of sort of around the facts.
Right. Or we know what we're getting into, but we're just like, well, we'll figure it out. It'll figure itself out.
Yeah, but the Hebrew says inside of that context of judgment, or inside of that context of accountability, it leads to judgment.
Right.
Man, you just lazy now. Or you don't care about me the way I care about you. And the second part of that is legal responsibility. Because this don't work, we got to divorce, we got to separate, we got to go our separate ways.
Right. And it's interesting you would use that analogy, because quite often accountability is used in the context of relationship. It may not be marital relationship, but it's used in the context of relationship, period. And when we get to the 4 types, you'll understand that, because we often don't use that word unless it's some level of friendship, some level of romantic relationship, some level of work relationship, or something along those lines, where we're looking at the account of things that need to take place within that relationship, juxtaposed to the ability to do all those things that you accounted for.
So here's what's really crazy though, Doc. In all of those type of relationships, if we have an account, what we have a tendency to do is make deposits from previous accounts.
Yeah, you open a can of worms.
Yes, because now I want you accountable for my past hurt, my past pain, my past joy, my past euphoria. And why can't you fulfill all of that? Like, wait, we had a list of 10. Why can't we get these 10 straight first?
Right. And we do that, especially in the context of relationship. We do that quite often. I have an account that rolls over from this last relationship. I got another account that rolls over from the relationship before that. So of those 10 things, there were 3 that there was no ability
to make. They didn't make deposits.
So I moved those 3 into this.
I still need that deposit though. Right.
Wow, bro.
So Doc, we roll accounts from family. We roll accounts from religion. We roll accounts from friends. We roll accounts from past lovers. Hey, this is a rough.
And the next person now gets knocked over the head because they don't have the ability to do all those things.
Right. I agreed to the 10 things that we said in this moment.
Right.
Not last year, not 5 years from now, because I didn't know you. Thanks for sharing, though. But here's the other part. As a man, and I'm just talking about me, a lot of times my ego tells me that I'm strong enough to fulfill all of those deposits that were missed.
Yeah, true.
And every time I go and get the bank statement, it's a negative. Because instead of me subtracting, I'm adding more to the list.
Yeah.
Because now you're taking my account away to somewhere else now.
Right.
That's crazy.
And here's the interesting thing, right? In all that we've been talking about, the scriptural reference takes it a whole nother direction.
Yes. Yeah. Proverbs 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. So, I really don't know what that means. to help me.
So now we're talking about one person's ability to motivate another person's ability.
Okay.
Inspire and motivate another person's ability, right? So think about the conversations we have,
Okay.
right? There's some expertise that you have that I don't have, right? So every time I have a conversation with you, or I watch you do a business deal, or I, listen in on something that you allow me to listen in on, I'm sharpened because there's a level of ability that I don't have in that area that you help to hone by inspiration and motivation.
Okay. But there are a couple of key words that you just said in there as well. First, I know I don't have it.
Right.
Then I have a willingness to.
Indeed. Right.
I think when I think about Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, so one person can sharpen another, there has to be some willingness in there.
True.
There has to be to know that I'm not sharp in whatever area. And then you have to, and it's not that you are usurping some type of leadership or you're cowering to a lower level. It's let's sharp each other because we all have a deficiency.
Right.
And I think that is the overarching thing about accountability. I'm not holding you accountable because I'm ultra accountable. I'm saying hold me equally because I have deficits. That's all.
Yeah. And I think that is not often, to speak to how we probably should be using this. It's not to say that the one-dimensional piece is not necessary, because obviously all of the definitions speak to that. But it's also now being able to bring in that other dimension.
Correct.
That allows you to, that fosters growth.
Yes.
Because this other piece fosters growth.
Yes.
Whereas the one-dimensional way that we normally use it is actually
it attacks the person.
Right. And it's reactionary.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I believe we forget, when two people interact, there's always a third thing present.
Talk about that.
And the third thing is the thing that we're not accountable to. Because you don't have to be accountable to me. If we are aligned, be accountable to the third thing. Make your deposit, be nice, have grace, it's always a third present. So when we're arguing, we shouldn't be arguing or disagreeing with each other. We should be always looking at the third thing that we introduced into this thing.
Yeah.
We introduced that we will eat this way. The moment you don't, you ain't accountable.
You ain't accountable. Right.
And that's not true. The truth is, on Tuesday, I just didn't want that. So that's the accountability, sharing, making a reckoning, sharing why, and let's adjust the thing that's outside of us.
So I for those of that are listening, I want you to think about how many times you've used that word, how many times that word has been used in reference to you, as it relates to you need an accountability partner, or you need to be accountable to someone or for something. And really think about where that fell. Was that a scenario where you were being set up for growth, or was that a scenario where you were you had to defend yourself?
Yeah, because there's this other term. Oh, he grown. He should be accountable for himself. Did you call him because he running a little late? He grown. He know what time we said.
Now, so you bring in a whole nother thing. Here's a question for thought. Can you be accountable to yourself?
Yes, by honoring your word.
Okay.
The end.
Okay.
That's the only level of accountability there is.
If you say it, do it.
Yes. I mean, I guess that's kind of sort of it, Doc.
Yeah.
That's where the honor comes in. That's how you build trust. That's how you level the playing fields of, respect. I think what we're really talking about when we went through these words of love, family, friendship, and all that, a lot of wrong words are being used, and we use them in future tense,
Okay.
not right now moments. In a lot of my relationships, male, female, co-workers, working people, the euphoria of right now allows me to speak in future tense, where in future tense, that euphoria may not be there.
Okay.
You know what? Like, boy, you know you're my homeboy. But tomorrow, man, he ain't this. And wait a minute, yesterday I was just your homeboy. Or, man, I love her. One thing wrong, she get on my nerves. Where was the euphoria from yesterday?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being accountable and using the word accountability in its proper context should be the overarching theme of the third thing or the fourth thing that you're working for or the list of things that you're working to achieve.
It's interesting, too, because I think you can probably go both ways, right? So if you talk about being accountable to yourself as keeping your word, if we do lowest common denominator,
Yes.
right? Then there's a level of accountability that actually requires outside evaluation. So
Okay.
think about it like this. So let's take it let's put it in the context of finances.
Okay.
So being accountable to myself is I'm keeping my own books.
Okay.
If I have an expenditure, I'm responsible for putting that expenditure in there.
Okay.
If I have some income, some revenue, I'm responsible for putting that in there. I'm accountable to myself by doing that, right? But then come tax time, somebody else wants to see that.
Correct.
And make sure now I'm accountable to that person.
Correct.
Based on what I said and them now evaluating that what I said is actually true.
Yeah, they'll create the reckoning.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So that's I think we don't always look at both sides of that.
Yeah, accountability is an investment, Doc.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's not a subtraction. I mean, again, the root or the pretext of the word, account. It's me adding something to something. I can't subtract something from something.
How do you, and before we go to the different types, and we got some synonyms as well, what do you say to the person who says, I don't have the ability to successfully navigate the things that are in the account? We often label them as not being accountable.
Okay.
Whereas I dare say there's some honesty in that that's commendable.
Right. They didn't say they weren't willing.
Right.
It's just that I know that I can't.
And I think as it relates to using the word incorrectly, we often label them as something they aren't.
Correct.
They actually told you the truth.
They did.
And in the context of relationships, we often overlook that.
Yeah, I mean, we always look future tense because that is the entire premise of a relationship.
Right.
Relationships reside in the future. The accountability is how we get there. The trust is how we get there. The respect is how we get there.
And this opens a can of worms that I don't necessarily want to spill out, but that's often the reason why you have scenarios where somebody's like, well, I know that's how they are now, but
5 years from now, they'll be all right.
Yeah. When they were actually accountable to you,
right,
by saying, hey, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't have that ability.
Correct. But I'm working on it. But then there's this thin line between, I guess, what we talked about, accountability and responsibility. The accountability is the acknowledgement. The responsibility is doing something with the acknowledgement. Because once you know that I can't, I have the lack, that gives you the opportunity to work with the lack. I can't just rest there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Accountability, to take it a step further, is knowing I have the lack, going to get help, and then be responsible with the help that I get.
Mm-hmm.
Because there has to become a point where I'm accountable to me and to a thing, not a person, just to a thing. What's the thing you told me it's called when people go to the gym in New Year's and they don't?
Quitter's Day.
All right. How long is that?
It's 10 days.
Okay. So
January
I can
10th is Quitter's
only be responsible for 10 days to myself.
Right. Basically, is what you're saying.
Good God.
Or what you're saying is, I don't have the ability and I'm going to fake it for these 10 days, which is often what happens.
There we
I
go.
already know that all of the stuff that it takes for me to be healthy, which is the account, I ain't really trying to do that.
Hey.
But I know I should probably look like this for as long as possible. So hence, I'm going to go in here until I get tired of going in here, and then I'm going to stop.
Remember I said this in men's ministry Sunday. People don't really want what they want.
Mm-hmm.
They just want the results of what they want.
Right.
It takes a lot of work to get to the results
Mm-hmm.
of what you want. It takes accountability. It takes time. It takes self-deprecate. It takes a whole myriad of things. How much are you willing to invest into that account to really get the result that you want?
So what I'm hearing is that accountability is multifaceted.
It is.
And,
it's a living thing.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily how we go about it.
No.
At times.
Yeah, we use it to crucify.
And I'm not letting the lazy or those who fear commitment or whoever, whatever. I'm not letting you off the hook when I say this. However, part of being accountable is you being able to articulate the fact that you can't be accountable.
Hey. Wow.
Because if we're looking at it from the two words, and here's the list of things, here's the account, and let's evaluate your ability, and you say you don't have no ability, thank you.
Yes.
I need to know that up front.
Hey. It's interesting because there's a word that keeps coming to mind. It's as if accountability is sort of the life force to expectation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The moment you agree to, I hold you to the standard of expectation.
Right. Yep. And accountability becomes the method of evaluation to determine whether those expectations have been met successfully.
Correct. If we were to breathe life into accountability should just be the standard.
Yeah, that might, man. If we didn't have more to talk about, that would have been the plane would have landed with that statement. Yeah. Wow. Everything would be roped into that.
That's it, Doc.
And that would be it.
Because it's not really that big, man. I think, and we said it earlier, I think when we create a list of 10 things,
mm-hmm.
and I have 10 things that I'm bringing,
mm-hmm.
I only told you like 2 of the 10 other ones that I'm bringing. But I want you to be accountable for all 10, and you really don't know.
You don't know.
Or I've shared with you what those 10 are. And I said to you, don't worry about it. I'm dealing with it over here. Only to find out that your here is your right now.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that I got to deal with it as well.
And if we're looking at it from a relational lens, that is a huge reason why relationships find themselves in crisis.
Yes.
Is there were either expectations that were never articulated, but yet the other person was held accountable for. Or there were expectations that were articulated, but the sense of urgency was never articulated.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I told you something and I wanted you to act on it today, but you made it seem like we had a year to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother.
Yeah, because that lends itself to topic, to fear, to loneliness, to passive aggressive. That's a whole nother litany list of other things.
It is. And some of those words we will touch on in this podcast, fear being one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's real crazy, man, but accountability lends itself to a whole plethora of other things that we say. I could do bad by myself.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm really saying is I don't want to be accountable for nothing.
Yeah.
Except me.
Yeah. And that speaks to some of the synonyms, right? Responsibility, obligation, reckoning, transparency, answerability, integrity.
So can you imagine all of those just being a standard?
Right. I mean, all roped into this is who I'm going to be.
That's it.
For whatever the scenario is.
That's it.
For the person, whatever.
And I don't have an expectation placed on a person. Mm-hmm. I have an expectation based on the agreement.
Right.
That's it.
And my ability to contribute to that agreement in such a way that once it's evaluated, if there is any kind of reckoning, that it can be said that I did what I said I was going to do.
Correct. Or I didn't do.
Right.
And it's not, I didn't do, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Or I didn't do, I'll do better. It's, I didn't do, that kind of shoulder should be it.
Right.
Because the latter part opens up a whole nother lane of conversation.
Exactly. Right.
But it don't need to be.
Right. And I'll say this. I won't say necessarily that it doesn't need to be. However, you need to be ready to continue what you start with that other.
Correct.
Statement. So if you say, I'm sorry, that leads you down a whole road of resolution and reconciliation and restitution.
Yes, not why.
And right. You know what I'm saying? So if you're going to say that, then know that there's another process that you're starting with whatever that statement is.
There's a famous 12-step program out there that says when you injure or harm somebody, you should immediately make amends.
Wow, immediately.
Immediately. Now, an amends is not a language. Amends is an action.
Okay. Got you.
For example, if you were to hurt your wife's feelings, you may say, I'm sorry, as you're walking towards her to give her a hug. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Right. But
there's an action.
The hug is.
That's the thing. That's the affirming thing that says the word. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Sometimes you don't even need to use the word. You give them a hug, that solves the thing.
Says everything. Yep.
That's what I'm saying. There is an action that comes from accountability. Now look at the action. If we were to use it purely from a banking standpoint, the more money I put in the account, the more money we have to invest. Now you heard me change.
We.
Right.
Yep. Understood. And that's, I love you said that, because that now, as it relates to using the word correctly, there is an inclusive component to accountability.
Absolutely. It always involves one or more outside of yourself.
That's good. That's good, man.
Why can't that be a standard?
Man, that's a whole nother conversation. Why can't it be a standard? And I think part of the reason why it can't be a standard is because we've used it in such a one-dimensional way.
Yeah, we begin to bastardize this. Is this a wrong word, Doc? Accountability?
It is a wrong word. Because I'm thinking about all the times that I've used accountability, or it has been used in my direction, and it has been very, very one-dimensional. Like all of this that we've talked about now in this conversation, it expands it in such a way that actually makes it a beautiful thing.
It really is. It's beautiful in the sense that you can open up a dialogue with anybody, and anybody will never feel attacked.
Right.
Because the preference of it, or the prefix of it is, I'm not talking about you. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about the thing.
Yeah.
So if we agreed, we should have but I understand if you didn't. So it's not even, and we try to ostracize people, Doc. But you bought a pair of shoes and you couldn't put money in the bank. Or you could have put gas in the car last night. You ain't need to stop and get none today. You knew we had to.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. That's right. And I love that holistic look, that lens, because so the 4 archetypes that I put, it actually eliminates the need for archetypes.
Okay.
Now I'm going to share what they are: bureaucratic, political, professional, and social. So bureaucratic accountability, political accountability, professional accountability, and social accountability. But if we're looking at setting a standard that is all inclusive of what accountability stands for, there's no need to categorize them.
No.
In this way, in these archetypes,
No.
because the same approach to accountability is going to be transferable.
Yes.
Across all archetypes.
I learned that. I took this class called Leadership. And inside of the class, the thing that I probably wrestled with the most was being a son, being a father, being a partner, being an employee, being an employer. When she says simply, no, just be your word, and that will cover all of them.
All of that. Just be your word.
And let that be the standard.
There it is. I think that's where you land the plane.
Everybody can get off now.
Be your word. Be your word. And for those of you who are listening, man, this we hope you got something out of this conversation, number one. But number two, we hope that you, like we say this all the time, begin to look at the word, evaluate your usage of the word. How has this word been used in reference to you? And is there an adjustment that can be made that would allow you to now view this through a holistic lens that creates an opportunity for you to set a standard that governs who you are as a person, that allows you to show up as that person in every scenario?
Yep. And I think the overarching guideline is be fearless with your accountability. Mm-hmm. Because that energy will attract others that are fearless inside of their accountability. Mm-hmm. And it will repel those that